Hi, my name is James Shepard, and today I want to share with you the question close. The question close. So we want to talk about how do we close merchant accounts, right? That's obviously really, really important. And one of the techniques that I use, and it's funny because I don't talk about it that much, but in recent days and weeks, as I've been talking to agents and role-playing with them through our 6-week Jumpstart program, I've realized that, wow, I really use this technique a lot more than I realized I did. And I'm trying to share it with them. And so I decided to go and just make a video about it to help you as you're out of the field trying to close a merchant account. So one of the big issues that, that agents have, all sales agents really, whether you're selling merchant services or not, is that you get to the point where you're ready to close the sale and you're trying to figure out, what do I say next? I think I have the sale. I think the person's really interested, but how do I close the deal? What I try to do is when I'm closing the deal, I would say 8 out of 10 times, I start my close with this question. I just say, let me ask you a question. All right. So that's how I start it. So let me ask you a question. Now, the question is going to be framed in one of two different ways, okay? The first way is where I'm asking them a very simple question that they would only answer if they were going to move forward, but it's not the kind of thing that they would argue about. So, for instance, I might say, so let me ask you a question, Bob, and then while I say that, I'm pulling out the paperwork. So let me ask you a question, Bob. What is the legal name of the business? So let me ask you a question, Bob. What is the physical address here? Whatever. What's the phone number? And I write that down on the paperwork. So that's kind of moving towards like the paperwork close. And I've done videos about that before, so I won't get into that except to say that I start it with, so let me ask you a question. And, I ask that simple question. The other time that I'll use it is, I'll either that or I'll ask a question that's like an options question. So I'll say, so let me ask you a question, Bob. Do you think that it would make sense for you to move forward with option A, or do you think that option B would make more sense? Okay, so I'm going to use, one of those options. So I'm either going to go after the kind of a detailed question, or I'm going to go after an options question and say, so let me ask you a question. I'm trying to think of a good example here. I might say, say I'm selling cash discounting. So let me ask you a question, Bob. Do you think it would make more sense for you to jump into the cash discounting now, knowing that it's working 95% of the time, knowing it's going to save you $7,000 a year, and go ahead and try it, knowing that you can switch back to traditional processing if it doesn't work out? Or would you feel more comfortable just taking the smaller savings on just using traditional processing with me, but I'll set that terminal up so that I can flip a switch and put you on cash discounting later? Which of those two makes more sense for your business at this time? So again, I started that all with, so let me ask you a question, right? The third one, I do want to give you one other one that I do use occasionally. It's not one of the top two, but I will use occasionally, is I'll use it with a like a tagline or a hook or something where I'll make just one statement. I don't like this one as well because your closing percentage with this one is usually going to be a little lower, but sometimes I will use it, especially if I feel like I've really got somebody and I've got this really specific thing that I believe they should do it this way. Like sometimes it's hard to give somebody options because, you really believe there's only one option that really works well for them. Maybe you're selling them a particular point of sale system, a little bit of a larger sale, and you don't really want to give them kind of an off ramp for this one thing you're trying to sell. So I'll say, so let me ask you a question, Bob. Based on everything we've talked about, it sounds to me like this solution is going to be a great asset to your business, isn't it? So I'll use that, isn't it, doesn't it, won't they? This really everything we've talked about today, Bob, so let me ask you a question. With everything we've talked about today, all the savings we're going to offer, this great point of sale system that's really going to revolutionize your business. It sounds to me like this is a great idea for you. Don't you agree? And so, you have to add that, don't you agree, isn't it? That sounds good to you, doesn't it? You have to add that on to the end of it. So again, I don't like giving the prospect an opportunity to say no, but sometimes you just can't avoid it because there aren't options, and that you're not ready to start it on the paperwork because you got to get more information first from them and things like that, especially, like I say, technology sales, larger deals, so you can move in that way. So hopefully on your drive today, as you're driving out to your first merchant location or about to jump on the phone, maybe you'll listen to this a couple times. Try it out. Try doing, so let me ask you a question. That should be your closing statement 80, 85, 90% of the time. Try it out. So let me ask you a question. And then you just got to plan which questions are you going to ask. You should really only have maybe 3, 4, 5 variations of the question you're going to ask, and that's how you close the sale. So that's the question close. My name is James Shepard. Have an awesome day.